Come swing it with Winget, where we learn how to get wealthy through real estate while maintaining life's balance and striving to be the best version of ourselves. Okay, well, welcome back to the Swing It with Winget podcast, and today I've got a real special guest for you. In fact, it's my very first guest on our podcast, and she is my better half, formerly known as Melissa Winget, my wife. Welcome, honey. How do you feel about being in the studio and being on a podcast?
It's a bit nerve-wracking, but I'm all right.
Wow. Well, you handle it well.
I'm a very private person, so.
Well, that's something in our 25 years of marriage this October that's always been an issue, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And you've done pretty well with it, knowing that your husband has to get out there and, make it rain and, go out there and rock and roll out in the jungle, as some might say. But
yeah, it's
being in the public eye can be a challenge. And I know that that's been a topic of a lot of different things over the years. But for the most part, we've done well with it and understand the importance of being in the public eye if you're going to be a business owner and a networker and help a lot of people do a lot of things. So anyway, I wanted to start first and foremost by basically having our audience get to know you a little bit. And I obviously know how amazing you are, our kids and our family do. But, geez, tell me a little bit about yourself, Melissa.
Are you wanting to know now or like in the beginning?
Well, I think, I've kind of prepared like a little bit of an outline of how to go about this. But let's see, what year did we get married? Do you remember?
No. Yes.
Okay.
97.
And essentially, Melissa and I met in high school. We both graduated from Murray High School. I was a senior. She was a junior. And we met in seminary. And the teacher had this little fun game that everyone took off a pair of shoes or a shoe, threw it in a big pile, right? And then whoever got the other person's shoe, whether it's boy or girl, you end up having to get to know that person for the rest of that hour, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to lie, I was, looking around. Of course, I had already noticed Melissa prior to, because she was a cute little button. All of 5'2", or is it 5'3"?
3.
Oh, wow. And I'm 6'3", so there's a little bit of a height difference, but I don't know why it is, but maybe the tall guys go for the petite girls and vice versa. Maybe there's some of that in play here. But I grabbed her shoe, and I wasn't, I didn't like politely grab it. I kind of dove on top of the pile or something like that and got a little aggressive. So I wanted to make sure that I got to know Melissa, took advantage of that opportunity. What do you remember about that?
Well, yeah, that kind of happened. Wendy, my friend, had my shoe at the time because we were trying to get each other's shoe.
Oh, boy.
Because we didn't really care about meeting other people at the time.
You got to have a wing woman.
You ripped my shoe out of her hand.
Oh, I don't remember that, but that seems a little aggressive. Well, Wendy was also a friend of mine. She was a cheerleader and I was a basketball player. You sure I ripped it out, or did she kind of hand it to me?
Grabbed it. I don't know.
Who knows? But the point is
you got my shoe.
That was in 1994 when we first officially met. Mm-hmm. We've been going back and forth in the hallways ever since junior high, right? But so let's talk a little bit about Melissa's background and after our kids and kind of our career, and the fact that not only is Melissa, the rock of our family, but she's definitely been the person that's been grounded all of our kids as well as me through the ups and downs and all arounds. She's also an entrepreneur, and I call her my little business mogul. And a lot of people don't know this, but she's been my partner in real estate, in property management, mortgages, and now furniture and design in our vacation rental business. And so and also home flipping and staging and pretty much everything that I do. She has some kind of a role or knows, what's going on.
Some kind of say in it.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's like, here's this elbow, go solve this problem tomorrow. But, it's okay. She's kind of the voice of reason in our family as well as our business. And she has a real unique way of getting right to the point and not sugarcoating things. And she's, she's just really smart when it comes to simple things that I kind of overthink or complicate things. So
thanks, hon.
Well, you bet. It's just when I don't listen is the challenge, or when I think I've got this.
That's right.
And that's when I find,
sit and watch
the secret
it all
to
go down.
They say happy wife, happy life, but I mean, there is some truth to that. We just need to do what our women say to do more often, I think, at least in my case. So graduated in 95, and I was going to High. And this was my freshman year at BYU.
I was a swimmer.
You were a swimmer.
I was. I swam all my life.
And
since I was probably like 8 years old.
You grew up in Taylorsville, right?
Grew up in Taylorsville.
Which is right next to Murray. But how did you end up at Murray? I'm glad that you did, boy. Because
the Taylorsville High swim team didn't quite have a well-rounded team, I guess. Uh-huh. And so I was already swimming at the Murray Aquatics. I had grown up swimming there, and Larry Swim was my coach. And
Wait a minute. What's your coach's name?
Larry Swim. His
last name is Swim.
That's
Go
right.
figure.
That's right.
What was it like swimming for Coach Larry Swim?
He was great. It was fun. He was hard on us, and I learned a lot of hard work and how it pays off. And I mean, we were up at 5:30 in the pool. Actually, up earlier than that because I was in the pool at 5:30 every day.
How long did you do this?
Till 7:30, and then we'd swim like another 3 hours after school. And I did it all of high school, but even before that of high school and junior high, we were doing that as well in the summer.
Well, the reason I'm glad you brought this up because Melissa is like an Energizer bunny that never stops, but part of that is the importance of her work ethic and her mindset, and she is one of the strongest willed and strongest mentally tough people I know. And that's a big part of why our kids are similar in different ways and how important it can be when you have a partner that believes in a lot of the same things, but also complements your weaknesses or your, things that you struggle with. And Melissa, I wasn't sure you were going to talk about the swimming.
I know. I shocked you.
Why? What brought that out of?
Well, because you wanted to know a little about me, and I felt like that I should probably give a little bit about me before we met, of how I was.
It's kind of
because it's kind of a big part.
It's a big part of who I fell in love with. It's a big part of who you are as a person, and I think it's great because the things that you've accomplished in your career are unbelievable. And when we go through some of these things, people might be shocked, but I think your kids look up to you in a lot of different ways, and I certainly do. So Melissa she's not going to say this, but Larry Swim was one of the best coaches in swimming in all of Utah history.
Yeah. And
probably one of the best coaches in the country for high school swimming, I would say. Murray High School, where we both went, was known for baseball, which is the sport I played, and swimming. And those two sports dominated. More particularly, I'm getting goosebumps right here. Are you kidding me? Look at that. I try and just take a step back and realize that, what causes goosebumps. But it's amazing what that coach and that program and that school pumped out in swimming. And Melissa was a part of how many state championships as a team?
4 years.
4 years. Well, how many years are there in high school? I think there's 4.
Well, I guess 3. I started as a freshman, and junior high was, 9th grade was in junior high back then. It's a little different for our children now, but, and I guess it's...
So you started varsity as a freshman? Mm-hmm. And sophomore, junior, and obviously senior. So you had 4 years where you participated in a state championship program and team.
Yes, I swam in region and then went on to state, and I lettered every year as well.
That's amazing. 4-year letter. That's incredible. And you started swimming every single day. Did you take days off, holidays?
Never.
What do you mean? What do you mean never? Like, come on, there's not like a swim for 5 days during the week and then get a couple of days off for a weekend?
Maybe Sunday was our only day off. We were in that pool at 5:30 in the morning, swimming 2 hours.
Oh
then
my gosh.
Right after school, we were swimming another 2 to 3 hours every single day.
Holiday didn't matter.
Holiday, yeah. Saturday mornings, we were in that pool at like 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
For another 2 hours.
We
did that every day.
What different relays or heaps or whatever you call them did you swim?
And we did that in the summer as well. It wasn't just during school time.
So there wasn't a lot of extra time to get in trouble or...
No, not at all. Just a lot of hard work. And
I can't imagine that. I mean, in college, we practice for 3 or 4 hours and, we might meet for gym time in the morning like our boys do, but that's insane. I think... So what events did you swim? Or
I swam the 500 free, the 200 IM, and the 100 backstroke.
Wow. What was your best one?
I did better at long distance. So I even did like the 200 IM. That's the front stroke, backstroke, breaststroke, and butterfly.
So all of those experiences, and I would say pretty impressionable years of how would you feel like those things have carried over into your marriage, into your parenting, into your business?
I think a lot of it, just being dedicated to something and putting your heart into everything, and hard work, like
no quit.
No quit. You just go for it. You get in there and you don't quit till it's done. And
well, and learning how to win. I think you learn so much about the process in sports or anything, and just what it takes consistently over a short and long extended period of time, of the tweaks and the things you need to do with nutrition and all these different things while you're going to school, trying to go to a dance or two,
getting good grades, having some activities with friends.
Yeah. That's what a sacrifice. So
it was a sacrifice for me. It was a sacrifice for my parents, having to get me there. My mom had to take me every morning at 5 a.m.
And you were commuting from Taylorsville, which is probably like a 15-minute drive, which there's longer drives, but I remember that being kind of an intense situation. So, well, let's dive into your career because I think it's pretty fascinating. When I was graduating from BYU, we had just gotten married in 97, October 19th, by the way. Let me tell you, you don't want to forget the anniversary. This will be our 25th year this October, which I'm pretty excited about. We dated for 3 years prior or something like that. So I graduated from BYU. Melissa started working as a loan processor for my dad in what we call the sweatshop.
I know. I was thinking that earlier today about that.
There's no AC and no heat other than whatever, mobile little thing that we'd pull in, right? Ones. And man, it got hot in the summer. But ultimately, you had the same opportunity as I did, where she came with no experience in the business. You'd already been working. Your dad worked at American Express and got you a job at like age 16. Or when did you start?
College? I started when I was 18, right out of high school there. Okay. I was going to Salt Lake Community at the same time while I was there.
Well, and that was pretty cool because, Melissa grew up in a family that believed in good credit and believed in, being responsible with your money and contributed to a lot of different things. And that was pretty awesome. I'm very grateful for that. And she actually helped me get my first credit card about the same time when we got married. She was helpful to get me in a position to have an American Express card, not just a card. Remember, it was that blue, what was that? The blue platinum card or something that was just an awesome card. It's like flip it out. Like,
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was amazing. but essentially dives into the mortgage business in the sweatshop with my dad. It was my dad and Melissa. Okay. And then my brother came to work at some point before I got there. And it wasn't until I graduated from BYU and hung up the cleats that I kind of sat in that sweatshop for about a month in like a stupor thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do in my career and my life? Mm-hmm. I'm married. My wife's killing it all of a sudden after 4 or 5 months of loan processing. And I'm just sitting there like, what in the world am I going to do now?
How am I going to get the business? Because you had to go out and find it.
I know. It was just all of a sudden, I had to kind of put the big boy pants on and there wasn't anybody cheering me on other than my family and Melissa. Wasn't, any trophies to be had. There wasn't any, loud claps or, announcers saying great hit, great home run, blah. I'm like, this is the real world. Holy cow. And I'm married. I gotta be a provider and a protector. And, I'll tell you what, it was a challenge, but you made it a lot easier because
we had fun in there.
We kind of did, didn't we?
Yeah. The 4 of us, and
it was a special
we had a great time. It was a really, yeah.
And,
great memories.
So I got out of college and I became a loan originator. Back then, you didn't have to have a license to do that, which is a little bit scary. But and you didn't either have to have a loan processor license, and both of those things have changed. But so Melissa would be like, "Go get out there and find the business and bring it to Mama so I can process it and organize the paperwork." Maybe explain a little bit about what you did day to day as a loan processor.
You would bring me the files, and then I would have to go to the companies that we would source out to.
Because we were a mortgage broker.
Right. Yep. And so we dealt with Security National and
a few others.
I can't remember what they are.
That was our primary one.
Yeah, our primary was Security National, and I would just go off of what their requirements were, and we'd have to gather all the information for it.
I'd fill out the loan application, and I'd make sure all the loan disclosures were signed. Everything was hand done, too. There wasn't any real digital scanning or emails back then. That was later.
I think we did emails, and we'd scan it in. We would fax it because there was no scanning type to the email.
Or we'd go to the lender itself and use their copy machines. I remember doing that to have our own file and to make a copy file for them.
We had these huge files full of paper that we would just, it was just unreal. Yeah.
Melissa would stack them and organize them and put tabs on them, basically make the job for the underwriter as easy as possible and as pretty and basically present really what it is someone's entire life.
Yeah.
To try and help them with the American dream of owning a house, buying a house, or refinancing a house that they need help with so they can afford to live with their family, right? It was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
You learned a lot, and you became really good at it. And Jeremy and I really became pretty good at originating loans, too.
Yeah.
He, my brother Jeremy, he's no longer with us, but he and I and Melissa became very close. And so, but he kind of did more of the A paper, the conforming, good credit, kind of the cookie cutter stuff.
The easy stuff.
And for whatever reason, I dove into my dad's filing cabinets, right? And there's just stacks of files in multiple filing cabinets. And it was just big folders and files of people's lives, and it wasn't pretty sometimes. Like
they were harder.
They were hard. They called them non-conforming loans.
Yeah,
and
we don't have those anymore nowadays.
We don't have as many of them, do we? No. There are a lot of, and let me give you an idea what that looked like. Someone that had 550, 570 credit scores, but owned a house. Okay, and they might have they'd have a 2-year fixed mortgage, right? And this mortgage would be like a 9% interest rate. Okay,
and they had credit cards maxed
just
out.
Just
everything maxed out.
Even if they had credit cards, like some of them didn't even have credit cards. They were, but if they did, they were maxed. They didn't understand how credit limits can impact your credit scores, and then they'd have judgments and liens and tax liens and all kinds of crazy stuff.
And all that stuff we would try and roll into the house.
Right.
Well,
but they had this house that somehow had some equity, right? And not all of them did is the problem. And what we would struggle with is how do we get these guys a loan and package it in a way that a lender is going to be protected and want to lend even a higher interest rate loan to these guys when either there wasn't much equity or they were not a good risk, to repay. And so there was a lot of education to our clients. Not all of them we could get done right then, but I kind of took all these files and chose to invest my time, and Melissa and I, to try and help these families. And I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
You were 20.
Yeah.
And we're working with people that were 40, 50, 60, and their lives were in complete shambles, like financially, like, oh my gosh. And we saw, I became kind of a specialist in the crap files, if you will. And it's a horrible way to describe it, but it's really, I sympathize with these people, and I wanted to help them keep their houses. I wanted to help them. What happened after their 2-year mortgage was up, they might have missed payments here and there, maybe 60, 90 days late. Some of them maybe didn't miss any payments, but the rate would go from 8 or 9% to 16%. It would adjust significantly, or from 9% to 10% on a 6-month LIBOR or whatever that index was going to do. It just went through the roof. And so they couldn't afford their house if you couldn't get them into a new fixed payment that was reasonable. And sometimes, like we said, we'd consolidate debt, and we would help if they had equity and they want to do home improvements, or they had, some financial needs that were beneficial. We'd help tap into that equity. But Melissa was just a rock star. You were processing. We got to the point where we were doing 5 or 10 loans a piece per month.
I was doing probably like 20 to 30 a month.
Yeah, and that was a big deal. We were able to help a lot of people, and I went from zero income to, I think I made about $75,000 that year as a loan officer, and Melissa probably made another $3,000, $3,500 a month or something, maybe.
I don't know.
So unfortunately, we were killing it, but things started to change. One, we were kind of evolving. We wanted to kind of move out of my grandparents' basement.
I was pregnant with Braden.
Yeah, we got pregnant.
We did. And I was pregnant the whole time working in the sweatshop, and that was very difficult. But when we had Braden, that's when we decided, because times were getting a little bit more, it was just getting harder. The business wasn't as strong with sharing it all with everybody in
we had
in the group.
Unique.
Like, you shared it 3 ways.
Yeah, we pay Pops
income.
like 50%, which is typical back then.
Right.
And then Jeremy and I would split
25,
and then he was doing other things.
He wasn't pulling his way anymore, and so it wasn't really making any. And here we had this little guy that we had to
plan on. We had a house we started to build in Taylorsville.
We moved into the new house, and
so we did something that was not really great, because we were, I guess Melissa and I were the stability in the company, weren't we? You were the processor. Mm-hmm. I was the main top producer, but
I think when we had either before I had Braden or after I had quit, because we knew that I needed to be home. But then I started a part-time job at that little reception place after. Yeah. So I think you had someone else.
Well, what I remember is, so we built this house, moved into it. The rates back then were 8%. Okay, that was a good rate. 8%. My very first, we started a new company, our very own, and it wasn't that difficult then to do that either. You didn't have to have like a $500,000 net worth and all these financial things, because so many people got in it that weren't the type that were responsible with it, and so they've got all these barriers for entry now. But essentially, it went well. We started this company, finished our little half basement, and I remember our boys' baseball coach in college now was our very first loan officer, Glenn Spencer, and our college roommate that Melissa's friends with too, Pat Johnson, was our very first mortgage. And to this day, when I see him, I thank him for that. And He's without that mortgage and without that 8% Provident funding deal that we got done, our very first mortgage of the mortgage brokerage, we would have had some trouble paying our bills. It literally like saved us. And then all of a sudden I had another good friend, Sterling Garnes, and multiple others that were chipping in loans, and we were all just trying to survive and find our way. But
and they would come in and make cold calls and try and find business that way. You hired a company that gave you a bunch of names.
Yeah, the title companies would print off like pages of names, like 6 names and all the details of their mortgage that was getting ready to adjust. And Sterling would call these guys nonstop and set appointments. And we would go all over from Salt Lake to Utah County meeting with these families in their family rooms to gain their trust to hand over their life to us to help them get a mortgage, essentially. Right. And Melissa was key, and we'd go, and she just did what she always did, and that's help us process and close loans. And that lasted, I think, till 2001 when we built our other home around the corner, moved next to your parents. Yeah,
we moved next to my parents. I was pregnant with Preston, and it was fine working as with Braden because it was just one child, but
Preston
we've always known that we've kind of wanted me just to be kind of like be a mom first. Yeah. Family was most important to us, making sure our kids were taken care of and not having to go to daycare and being taken care of by someone else. Yeah. So
we were fortunate to have family so close. Maybe it was too close there.
My parents lived next door at the time.
Backyards were connecting. The kids, we'd get mad at them. Somehow they'd just run out the back door to grandma and grandpa's and, oh, you're fine. You can't do anything wrong. And
Brayden would show up and he'd have his clothes on and his pajamas underneath the clothes, which my parents didn't know. And they would be like, he's like, I want to sleep over. And he's like, well, you can't sleep over. You don't have your pajamas. And he'd say, yes, I do, Papa, and pull off his clothes. And
it actually was amazing, and we loved it. But what I found is working all the time and trying to find that balance. There was such a growth phase that we went through with our business where we finished the whole basement off, and we ended up starting a credit repair company to do more mortgages. I hired a full-time processor, Heather Gunnell, who
I think had already had Preston, or did we train her before I think it would have Preston? I think it was right before.
Right before.
Yeah.
But Heather came in, one of my clients, and married a friend of mine from Murray High School. What an awesome story that is. She came in. I was just really impressed with her when I was out showing them homes. She was young, worked at Budget Rent-A-Car. I think she was making $8 an hour. Got them into their homes successfully, so she'd already had kind of her own experience. Anyway, she ended up being our processor, and now she's still our loan processor for.
She's amazing. She
for Trillion
just
Mortgage.
Really took off with it and it's done amazing.
She's been in the business. That's 20 years almost.
Yeah,
that's insane. And she's closed I don't know how many thousands of mortgages. So to this day, we still work together. So anyway, and we'll kind of run through this and summarize it, but. You had Preston. We hired a full-time loan processor. You trained her. We helped train her up like my dad and we did with you. Mm-hmm. She excelled. She did well. The credit repair company was great. We got in with Fieldstone Homes to take on their, in fact, not doing the prime loans, the just paper cookie cutter loans turned out to be a real blessing, because even though the non-conforming loans started to go away when the market crashed, and that was a big part of it, we had learned the process, and it takes time, and we had the patience and understanding and mental turpitude, if you will, to help these families through the process. Mm-hmm. Just like credit repair, it might take 6-12 months. And so
get them ready for
we would start, we would get the buyers that couldn't get approved for a loan to build or buy a new home through Fieldstone. And it really started to pay off. And a lot of our clients, we were able to turn around. We obviously still help the people that were in a position to refinance now or buy now. But you were
in real estate also at that time, because before we left.
That's right. 2001.
Before we left MCI, Jeremy
Yeah.
became a real estate agent, and he talked you into doing it.
Yeah, we went into
So
string
you kind
and
of
real
were
estate.
doing both ends at the time, and at that time you could be
Right.
the mortgage and loan officer at the same
Yeah,
time.
you disclosed all parties that you can represent all sides, and everybody was okay with it. And, in 2001, Jeremy and I got a real estate license. I think it might have been 2000, actually. 2001, we became a broker. And so a lot of our loan officers, like Glenn and Steve DeYoung and others at the time, they also got their real estate license, and our income literally doubled overnight.
Yeah.
Because we weren't referring them out to other people,
Right.
and we were able to give buyers like a discount, and and we're making 6% or 5%. We kick them back 1%, and it was all one stop shop type. Everything we were dealing with one person. It was really nice, and so that kind of since changed. Melissa ended up getting her loan officer license when that became a requirement. In 2000, so she we ended up moving out of the house into an office, and that's when Melissa really kind of dove into the mom role. We moved away from Taylorsville after, I think it was 2003, probably, into
Preston
Murray.
was 2, so it would have been 2004.
And it was a hard move. Melissa went kicking and screaming, and I don't blame her because she had so much help, so much support. And unfortunately, it was a tough one, and it caused a lot of conflict at the time because I was working nonstop. I'd somehow find ways to get to all the baseball games, but sometimes
there wasn't too many at that time. They was only in T-ball.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But it was hard because I also saw Melissa's parents kind of taking on more of a father role, and I felt bad because it's so close, so convenient. It actually is a little bit detrimental, forcing me, if we move, to be more involved and proactive. And
you wanted that anyways, because it does take a village to raise one
it really
child,
does.
I mean, we're grateful we have everybody that.
Yeah.
Every person that has come in our kids' lives have just been
huge influences.
Yeah.
But your parents have been incredible. So have mine.
Amazing because of it.
We've been very fortunate to have both sets of parents in our lives still, and have such great grandparents too, like have accomplished amazing things and provided so much over the years. And they're no longer with us, but our parents are, and they've been married forever since we've known them. And, they've just been steeples of support and huge for us and our kids and our family. So not everybody has that, right? And we've been really blessed, and sometimes take it for granted, and how easy help is right next door, or right down the street, or, whatever. But I think that's been a big part of our success, is not only each other, but our family and our extended family. And so from 2005, I started the Equity Capital Group with Doug Clark and Mike Baird. And, we flipped hundreds of homes, and we brought my brother Mark in to help us with the homes. And you were basically a stay-at-home mom at the time until we started having a different kind of problem. And who was there to help us out? We started to accumulate a lot of rental properties, and Melissa was starting to get in the groove of not one but 2 kids now, and of course Kayla.
Well, I was pregnant with Kayla, I think, at that time. She was born in 2007, so.
Yeah, so 2005 to 7 is when I started to realize, oh boy, we've got an issue. I'm bringing in all these houses,
I did more of the accounting
homes.
side at home because I could do that while I was at home.
So I'm like, babe, we've got this issue. I can't manage all of the mortgages, the utilities, like the spreadsheets and addresses and all the needs of these different homes. And she whipped it up, and we into a spreadsheet, and we started. She got the files just like her processing days, all buttoned up, looking pretty in the desk drawer there in our office, right off the family kitchen area, and she took over all of the day-to-day operations of paying all the utilities and the mortgage payments and any notices and things like that, while I was finding renters and buying more properties and flipping more homes and remodeling, overseeing, selling these homes,
doing
mortgages,
real estate and mortgages
home
all at
flips.
the same time.
Yeah. So
You were busy.
the thing about it is, people always ask all kinds of different questions and how we got here, and how did you accomplish all this, right? Where do I start? Well, in my case, I started with picking a really good woman to marry. And, I don't mean to get all cheesy, but the truth is it's just the way that it is, because had I not made that decision, none of this would have been possible, and had your parents not been so supportive and loving and embracing us and vice versa, we've just been close for a long, long time. Well, essentially, without that solid, I guess, foundation at home for me, I could never function at work.
You had the peace of mind that everything at home was going smoothly. All your finances, accounting, all that was peace because it was getting done.
Yep.
You could trust me because I'm your wife and I cared about us. It wasn't
very responsible.
You weren't having to hire it out.
I always had 800 credit scores and know the importance of that.
And then the kid, just supporting you.
Yeah.
I supported everything that you did. And you came home late. There's a lot of late nights where you weren't around.
Yeah.
It was just me and the kids. We were just like little best friends.
Sometimes
my little buddies.
I wouldn't come home till wee hours in the morning. Sometimes I was working nonstop. And a lot of the kids these days understand what it takes to really do what we've done. And I'm not saying that you have to do that.
Yeah, I think that you can work hard, but work a little smarter. Where you don't, and I feel that you have that balance now. In the beginning, you didn't really have the balance like that, but now you work really hard. You're there, 9 to 5 basically, and then you're home.
All I ever thought I had to do was just work harder than anyone else, and I would grind it out. Well, the problem was I didn't really have a mentor, right? I didn't really have, my dad taught us the mortgage business, right? But that was about the extent of it.
But he worked hard too, and he kind of was around the clocker type thing too. So that kind of
he instilled a great work ethic and think outside the box. And he was a developer, and he built a lot of really amazing commercial buildings across the country in our hometown. And the banking system in '85, was rough on him, and he was just a great dad, always there for us in baseball and different stuff. And my mom was a lot like Melissa. And so she's had some great examples, but she's really stepped up and been a huge part of our family's success. And so in 2007, we parted ways with Mike and Doug, and it was amicable, and we just started doing different things. Market tanks. We had 45 rentals at the time. Holy cow. 45 rentals, and what do you do? And so essentially we started a vacation rental business, and Melissa wasn't in the beginning overly excited about it, because we took what was maybe a little bit more cash than we would have liked and invested it in furniture, and launched 4 houses. And she wasn't as involved in that part in the beginning and didn't really quite.
No, I helped decorate the homes.
Yeah, you did.
And go to Walmart and buy everything and Costco.
Yeah. But you were kind of grudgingly doing it. This is nuts. What are we doing?
Well, yeah, because
charging up credit cards and all kinds of stuff.
I don't like seeing the money fly out like that on a big
ideas. When the market's
we didn't
crap.
know much about.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about, in fact.
Right.
We were in the real estate business, and here we are now in hospitality, and we had to learn a lot of hard lessons. Well, anyway, the market tanked. All kinds of money was lost. We walked away from some properties, lost a lot of our income, and really struggled for a long time. It was a scary time. And in 2010, Melissa kind of came out of retirement full time and became the controller and the partner and business owner of Utah's Best Vacation Rentals. And she essentially came into the office, was making sure payroll was met, making sure culture was good, everyone was happy. She was making sure everyone was paid, the best we could, and really made a huge impact. And that's actually when Jimmy Rex walks in the door and says, "Hey, out of curiosity, why aren't you doing home flips anymore? You're like one of the best I've ever known in the business. What the heck's going on?" I'm like, "You know what, Jimmy, you're right." Well, then he looks at me, I look at him, and we decided that we're going to go into business and start a home flipping business. We called it REFS, the Real Estate and Foreclosure Specialist, which Melissa was one of the owners of, and played a big role in, and in fact, we went on that journey, started that up again, because the vacation rental business was kind of off and running. And now it was, how do we rebuild the real estate side? Okay, the home flipping side drove the real estate side. Now we have homes that we can get commissions on buying or commissions on selling. And then the mortgage side was driven by the real estate side. And so we kind of got that going. Those three businesses kind of fed off each other, independent of the vacation rental company. Well, and Melissa, I remember when we started this new project down in St. George, Paradise Village at Zion, we were building one of our homes there, and I used to use a furniture and design company because Melissa was busy, everyone was busy, and they weren't cutting it. You remember, like in 2015, like when you made the conscious decision to pretty much come.
Well, it just kind of was like a little hard for us when they weren't setting the furniture up when they said they were going to.
Yeah.
We didn't get the right furniture.
Right. It just didn't go quite as planned.
Didn't go as smooth as planned.
So you decided one day to do what?
Start my own company, the furniture and design company.
And what's it called?
Utah's Best Furniture and Design.
Yep. And I got to tell you, like, she'd been informally doing this behind the scenes for us and a lot of people
for years.
Now she's like, "Oh my gosh, I want this to be my business." Like,
well, and Paradise Village was just starting out, so yeah, we were going to need to decorate a lot of homes. These are purpose-built vacation rental specific homes. And it wasn't like just go find your stuff at RC Willey like we've done in the past.
Yeah, piecemeal them together.
Yeah.
So we needed really nice stuff, and we needed it fast.
It and get wholesalers.
So what did you do? 2015, you start your own business?
Yeah, I did.
You went to Las Vegas?
Scary, and I'm just coming out of retirement. I took some time off because I got pregnant with Lincoln.
That's right. And
yes,
the business was kind of hopping and popping again. So you went back and let's have another Bambino.
I took like 4 or 5 years off.
And this
from Utah's Best. I left there, and then we had Lincoln, and then that's when I started this company.
Well, I'll tell you what.
To help it out, and went to Las Vegas market. Met a lot of retailers, wholesale vendors, and to be a retailer, basically. And that's how I started it all. So you get
wholesale furniture direct from the manufacturers and the retailers.
Yeah.
And you now have a website. It's www.utahsbestfurniture.com. But
yes.
She owns Utah's Best Furniture and Design, which is a sister company of all the other companies that we own together. The vacation rental, the real estate. We don't own a mortgage company anymore, but we work for Trillion Mortgage. And anyway, Melissa's been, you've probably decorated over 250 homes, I would think, at least, vacation homes over the years. And some of the nicest homes. You even done the largest 10-story building in Lehigh for the Perry group. Mm-hmm. That was an amazing project that you did. Just turned out amazing.
Yeah.
You've built, you've designed 17,000 square foot mansions up in Park City, and you've done
Red Ledges.
You've done so many different.
Did a 15,000 square foot home in Red Ledges.
Yeah. And all the vacation rentals you've done in St. George, like you're doing one right now.
I am.
And you did one like 3 weeks ago, and you have incorporated the kids in your business, and you've trained them the same work ethic, and they're involved. And are they pretty efficient and good at what they do?
They're amazing. Heck yeah.
And we've had good people, but
they've
these
been
guys
doing it. So our little guy, Braden and Preston and Mason have been doing little side jobs, furniture, putting it together over the years here and locally.
For a long time.
Since they were like 16, and like Braden had on his Facebook page that he was like head of putting furniture together.
Head assembler.
Head assembler or something.
That's
I know,
hilarious.
it was so hilarious.
Well,
but they have learned the process over the years, and so now they are like, ooh.
I mean, we went down to St.
quick.
George. I didn't do much, but you guys assembled a 5,000 square foot home, 6 bedrooms in a day and a half, completely from start to finish, from delivery, assembly, installation. And it was like amazing watching you guys work and how in sync all of you are. It's a real proud dad and husband moment.
Thanks.
You've really become, in my opinion, and I've been around the block, like one of the best in the business nationwide, okay, in furniture and design, and not only that, but specific for vacation rentals and occupancy and how to, your homes in our rental pool.
Maximize the capacity of sleep.
Yeah, and your homes, people might not know this, but people that decorate their homes with Melissa, their home side by side, a similar home does 10 to 15% more in revenue, just because of the way it looks, the way it's presented, how many people it can sleep comfortably, and how well it's stocked. And they just show, and the experience is just so much better, it seems, from people that try and do it themselves. And then they were like, why did I do that?
We get it done much faster too. It's all turnkey, like within a week's time.
But it takes months of planning and months of ordering, and you take half down and then half when it's done. But what people don't see is she has a warehouse and an office space in Sandy, and she takes shipments and meets these vendors all throughout the like 2 or 3 months prior to that 2-day, decoration time. And there's just a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Anyway, there'll be more fun things ahead. I love you, babe. There's no question. You're my soulmate, my best friend. You're certainly the best partner I've ever had. And we, like any marriage, we have our issues, work related, and sometimes it can be a challenge, but
I think we've balanced it very well.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of live and learn and through different ups and downs and experiences, but that same grit that she learned from a young age, similar to what I've learned in sports and in team and just doing whatever it takes to hold things together. And we just have fought through it. Not giving up. We never give up. There's no quit. We got some serious grit, babe. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on our podcast today, and thanks for supporting me in this journey and, helping others, try and avoid pitfalls and learn how to be successful in real estate and different things that we've done. I think a lot of people look up to you and to us for what we've accomplished. And I think it's great to give back and help other people, along the way.
Yeah. Well, I love you too.
Well, thanks, babe. Okay. Well, I guess over and out. Today's podcast was brought to you by Utah's Best Vacation Rentals. Whether you're looking for a 3-bedroom townhome or a mansion with an indoor pool, Utah's Best has a vacation home for every budget and occasion. To book your next incredible Utah vacation, go to utahsbestvacationrentals.com. Book direct and save.